Hey, Tom Judd from CED here with Tobey Clark, our collaborator and my long-term friend. And hey, he's the one that coined that clinical engineering now has become a global community. So on Global CE Day, we're glad to have Tobey here. Tobey, so how did you show up here today? What's going on?
Well, it's always good to work with you, Tom, and the IFMBE CED group. Just incredible what the history has been over the past couple of years with your efforts and so many others in the organization to make clinical engineering a recognized profession globally. And this interaction is really, really exciting. I'm glad to be here.
Tobey, so clinical engineering, I mean, everybody needs to know Tobey and I are the same age. I got him by a couple months barely, but Ben Sing Wang's got me by a couple weeks. But so we celebrate all that today. We had a big birthday this year that ends in 0. I won't name which one. Personally, I'm going on 50. But Tobey, back to you. You know, tell us about your clinical engineering career and how you got into international work.
Yeah, well, just try to be brief, but definitely when I was growing up, the space program in the U.S. kind of got a lot of people excited about science, and you know, I started looking into different fields. Kind of coincidentally, looking at applying to various engineering schools, I only actually replied to one that had biomedical engineering, and the only reason I went there is because they gave me a scholarship to play football. So I ended up going to Boston University, and after some years at the medical center there, moved to University of Vermont, went to graduate school here. First started out as a clinical engineer in 1976, and then moved on to be the director for about 32 years of our organization, Technical Services Partnership.
So Tobey, how did that lead into your international?
Well, that's interesting. You know, I was really focused on the kids growing up and all that, you know, so I really didn't get involved in international until 2000. I was fortunate enough to go to on a trip with Al Jacanunas and Jim Weir, Yadin, and some others to Lithuania. And I just found out there was so much that could be done by clinical engineers to support the various countries around the world to share our knowledge, but also learn from them. And, you know, really have to tell you though, you know, kind of a mentor was Antonio Hernandez at the Pan American Health Organization, who really put forward the concept of clinical engineering for the Latin America, Caribbean, and other nations. Very strong person, and really is kind of my hero. Next to you, Tom.
I don't really believe that, Tobey, but thank you. So yes, you put a toe into that international water, but there's something about that Latin America and the Caribbean just continued to draw you to them. You know, how did that evolve from 2000 till now?
Well, I think there's probably about 17 advanced clinical engineering workshops that I was part of the faculty on, and many with you, Tom, and others. It was, you know, really, as I said, a fantastic experience. You know, unfortunately, the kids were out of school at that point, into college and et cetera. So it allowed me some time to work internationally and work with so many people around the globe that I respect so much. I see all the value of the work that they're doing, and it was always a pleasure to work with them and as a faculty member, but also as a learner.
Yeah, you know, Tobey, I think about, of course, our colleague Frank Painter that really shepherded the workshops for many years until you began to shepherd them with Antonio. And I think about, you know, what we were in Peru together 3 different times. But at some point, you felt led to create a WHO collaborating center around CEHTM. Tell us about that.
Well, again, it was quite some intensive experience doing the advanced clinical engineering workshops around the world, and particularly in Latin America and the Caribbean. So Antonio Hernandez and Adriana Velasquez had approached me about submitting an application to be a collaborating center, and I was certainly quite interested in doing that. We submitted the application, took a couple of years, but most of our work being in training and education, that's kind of the focus of our terms of reference with the collaborating center now. Of course, with COVID, that has all changed a bit in terms of focus. But we were able to develop some online training courses through PAHO, a grant received from PAHO back in the mid 2000s, and then added healthcare technology planning and management courses to the technical courses that were developed. They've been taken by well over 1,200 students. They're given at three different universities, and the PAHO has a virtual campus for public health that is very strong.
Tobey, I love how you've raised not only the level of all the students, but you've raised the professors across Latin America as they've co-taught with you in various languages. And not only that, and maybe you'd say a word about that, but also you've raised up this whole new level of interns through your program there in Vermont.
Yeah, I mean, that's really been a kind of a passion for me. And we have 46 interns that have come from all over the world, primarily Latin America and the Caribbean. Right now we have a strong relationship with the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, and some other nations, small nations in the Caribbean, also Colombia, Peru, Argentina. We've all had many students from there also. But probably the most satisfying point to me is how they've gone on and been successful, not only in biomedical engineering, but beyond that in terms of health technologies. Many are working for Medtronics, Baxter, Becton Dickinson, some of the big companies in their health systems also. They've stayed in their area and being able to benefit those countries. We have one student from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a country of a couple 100,000 people. She left here a year ago. Since that time, she's got a job as a biomedical equipment technician. Then she received a grant to start her own company and be the first biomedical technology company in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and now is looking at going to get a degree from school in Britain. So, she basically had a rough history growing up and is now, really moving forward in such a fantastic way.
Tobey, how's your collaborating center responded in this time of COVID? What are some of the things you've been up to?
Well, we've tried to support the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, and WHO. We have routine meetings. Now they've gone just once a week, but in the past it's been many times a week to first, look at what are the priority medical devices that would be used for COVID, against COVID, then developing specifications for those devices. Beyond that, evaluating devices from vendors. And as you may realize, it's not so many vendors that have devices available. So it's kind of an odd set of devices versus what had particularly traditionally been evaluated by our group. And then moving on to kind of the quality assurance aspect, getting the devices into the system, training, acceptance testing. And the current project that spending most of my time on is the WHO training on the open WHO and platform that is available.
Tobey, you've done so much for so many for so long, but there is one thing that kind of happened that seemed impossible to me, and that's when Antonio Hernandez and Antonio Hernandez taught you and I how to dance. I mean, any comments about that? Two gringos. Can you believe it?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess my comments is, I think I'm a better dancer than you, Tom, but not Antonio.
That is absolutely true.
But
Hey,
you
Toby,
all
I know
look like you're
you're
having
going to
more
go
fun.
meet with Paho here in a minute. So I thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you.
All right. See you later, Toby. Bye.
Thank you.